Okay, so let's remember what we're trying to do here. Basically, we want to build a Python script that does this entire example. My hope is that you still have the one that worked for you. But if you don't, I'll make this particular model available. Just know that if you do that, you're probably going to have to change all of the data sources and things like that, which you're probably going to have to do anyway. And this is not necessarily the best way to do it. We are still working here. Calculate field. Remember when we ran the model before, we were able to do all the calculations all in one step. Because we're working in Python, we're actually going to have to do this in 3 steps because there are 3 categories. So you'll notice we've got return 5, we have a return 4, and then else, return 0. So how are we going to get to that? Well, we could do a thing where we query and say zone name not equal to any of these. There's another way we can do this, and let's see if we can make this happen. We're going to test it out over here in the script that we've been working on, or the model we've been working in. Let's see. Oh, there we go. And I'm sorry for switching back from Pro to ModelBuilder. It occurred to me that when we did ModelBuilder in the class, we were using desktop, so I want to go back with something that you guys have already dealt with, and ModelBuilder has changed somewhat in Pro. Mostly, it's just where these things are. It's not anything inherently different. All right, so we're going to do a select by layers again because we want to get all of the ones that we haven't already calculated. All right. And we will, where's the tool? Well, I can't find the tool, so I'm just going to copy this one. All right, and make sure that that's not the one. This is going to be the one that provides our input. Okay. And what we're going to do is, instead of doing a selection with on the zoning, we're going to make the assumption that everything that currently has a null value in this new table needs to be set to 0. And 0 is different than null because 0 you can perform some sort of math on. If you try to add 7 plus null, you might get a different answer than 7 plus 0. Okay, zone rank is null. Let's verify that. Okay, that looks good. We'll click OK. All right. And, I want to stick something else in here. And let me see if I can find it. I want to find out how many nulls there were. So I'm going to do a search on a tool called getCount. See if I can find, there it is. Can I just drag that in? Okay, I'm going to drag that in. This is just going to be kind of as an aside. And I will pop that into there. And it will actually give me the count of the rows. So we can actually see how many it actually found. But that's not really the important thing. The important thing is that we then, once we have all of the nulls selected, we're going to calculate all of those records actually equal to 0. And that's right. This is the input to calculate field. And we'll calculate 0. And then in the end we will, and so that should, we hope, work. So let's see, let's just run this thing. Oops. Let's try it again. Let's run the entire model, see what happens. Boy, the entire model ran just fine. That's nice. Let's see here. And let's go look at the data. Longmont zoning. Let's see. Let's refresh this to make sure we're looking at the right one. Preview. And if we're lucky, the entire table, every record in this field has a value, either 0, 5, or 4. And that's what it looks like. So it looks like it did its job. So then if we were going to add this into our script, we would go and export it and copy it out. I think it's probably going to be easier is if we completely start over, export the entire script, and we'll call this export select 3, and then we will modify that if necessary to include our try except statements and any kind of messaging that we might want to use. So let's go and see if we can open our the script that we just created, and you'll see that everything is now in here. Again, we have these goofy things that are created essentially to account for each one of those little ellipses. If you want to make this nice, then you're going to have to clean all these things up, and then go through and find where they're being referenced and clean those up as well. We have this thing called row count, 1484. I believe that's a count of all the numbers in the null. Kind of weird that the model itself put that in there. It's because we had already run it. It has that value. And then it does the processing. Now you might want to come in and do some commenting to say something like, make a feature layer of the zoning. And then we're going to begin the process of calculate zone rank for the most suitable zoning types. Okay, and that's basically 3 tools, and then maybe we come down here and then we calculate the zone rank for the less suitable zoning types. And that way, when you look at the script itself, you at least have an idea of what it's doing. And then let's see here. Determine the, let's say, select all the records with null zone ranks. Tell me how many there are, and you might want to put in a print statement to actually put all of this into the print. It'll actually spit it out on your output, or you can put it in the file IO so that it puts it in the log. So you can do some sanity checks with, oh, it's 1484 were null, and they still are. And then we calculate the field, calculate all of those to 0. Okay. Now let's see. We want to verify that we are actually going to accomplish something. So let's go through and refresh our geodatabase again. Note that this one has the zoning rank field and everything. One thing we could do, because the only real difference between this and the original is we could just delete this field. Okay, so now we're actually back to where we were when we started this entire process. So let's run this script and see if it actually performs the function. Now you should definitely put in a bunch of print statements so you can actually see that it's doing something. Sometimes when things get hung, you have a tendency to become anxious. you know, and it's nice to have some messages that say, oh, I'm here now, I'm here then, blah, blah, blah. And you see, the only thing it's actually done is print this message right here. And we have an exit code of 0. And that's because we took out, when we exported it, it didn't include all of the stuff that we had done before where we printed fields and things like that. So part of your final project is going to be to build this and pretty it up. And always, always, always confirm your results before you assume that that things worked correctly. In fact, never assume whether things work correctly. Verify that they work correctly. Okay, so our field is back and our values are back. So this worked in the ModelBuilder environment, and it also worked in the Python environment. So we've had a successful export.